What I'm about to tell you might sound simple, but if you truly understand it, it can change the way you see your life forever. So stay with me until the last second, because the real lesson is hidden at the end of this story. There was once a woman who lived at the base of an ancient mountain. It wasn't the tallest or the most famous peak. No tourist came, no maps named it, but to her it was everything. Each morning before the world fully woke, she would climb a little way up its path, find her favorite flat stone, and sit. She wouldn't speak. She wouldn't take photos or write anything down. She just sat there in stillness, watching the mist roll through the trees, feeling the cool breath of dawn, listening to the deep, distant hum that only the mountain seemed to know. People in the village often said, "She's wasting time. The world is moving on, and she's just sitting." But she never explained herself. Until one day a little boy followed her quietly. He wasn't trying to spy, he just wanted to know what she saw that no one else seemed to notice. She looked at him gently and asked, "Do you hear that?" The boy paused. "Hear what?" She smiled. "Exactly." He frowned, confused. But she just patted the rock beside her, and for a moment they listened, really listened. Not to the noise of life, but to the space between things. The wind weaving through pine needles, the faint rustle of wings in the trees, the steady heartbeat of silence. After a while, the boy asked, "Why do you come here every day?" She said, "Because this mountain reminds me of something the world forgets too often. Stillness is not the same as doing nothing. Sometimes it's how we find everything." The boy didn't understand, not yet, but something in her tone made him believe her. Years passed, seasons changed. The mountain did too. Landslides took pieces of the trail. Fires scorched the trees. Winter storms stripped away what was once green and lush. And still, the woman climbed. One spring, when she didn't come down for several days, a search party went looking. They found her higher than she'd ever gone before, lying beneath a twisted old tree. Her ankle was swollen, her clothes torn from the brush. A villager cried, "Why would you come up so far alone?" She simply whispered, "Because I needed to remember who I was, away from everything I was told to be." They carried her down gently. When she healed, she didn't stop visiting the mountain. In fact, she began bringing others with her, quietly, slowly. Not to hike, not to conquer it, not to take selfies at the summit, just to sit, to breathe, to remember. And people began to change. One man who had lost his job sat there and realized his worth wasn't tied to a paycheck. A young girl who had been bullied for being different found the courage to love her quirks again. An old woman who hadn't cried since her husband died finally let the tears fall, and then felt the lightness that followed. It became known quietly as the mountain that listened. One bitter winter, a massive storm swept through the region. Trees were uprooted. Roads were buried under snow. The villagers feared the worst. When it passed, they climbed the mountain, worried the woman may have been caught in the storm. They found her hut half crushed by a fallen tree, her belongings scattered. She was outside, wrapped in a worn blanket, tending to a tiny fire. Shivering, she looked up and smiled. "Storms don't ask permission," she said, "but neither does healing. Both come when they must." A villager asked, "Aren't you afraid, living here alone?" She shook her head. "I'm never alone up here. The mountain keeps me honest. It strips away everything I pretend to be, until only truth remains." Decades passed. The woman grew older, her steps slower, her voice softer, but still she climbed. One day she didn't return. This time no one panicked. They waited. A day, then two. On the third morning, a small group hiked to the spot where she used to sit. And there she was, still, peaceful. Her eyes closed, her face turned toward the sun, as if listening to the wind's final story. They built a small stone circle around the place she had loved. No sign, no plaque, just stones, like the ones she used to gather in her pocket. Each one different, each one part of something bigger. Now, people still visit that mountain, not to chase a summit, but to find a center. They sit on the stone she once favored, close their eyes and breathe, and somewhere in the silence, they hear her, still. You see, this isn't just a story about a woman, and it's not just about a mountain. It's about what happens when we learn to listen. When we stop chasing loud answers and start trusting quiet truths, the world will rush you, shape you, demand from you. But somewhere, maybe in a forest or by a river or halfway up a nameless mountain, you'll remember you are allowed to sit still, you are allowed to breathe, you are allowed to start again. And when the storms come, as they always do, don't ask, why me? Ask, what is this teaching me? Because like the mountain, your strength isn't in how tall you stand, it's in how deeply you're rooted. So today, just sit, let go of the noise, and listen to the quiet voice that says, you're still here, and that means you still have a chance.